Otniu, the crafter of the Latora, grew lonely in his surveillance of the beauty placed by his hands, and desired the most basic of companionship. Yom, his close friend and the gatekeeper of Franguren, remembered the ones below, particularly the brilliance of one tumult from Banriah, going by the name of Asishi. With some prodding, he encouraged the marriage between the two, being the first union between the Othan spawn and Boyan spawn. Both groups were reluctant, but ultimately relented to the idea. However, they were never to bear children, being as they would be abominable creatures bred from two opposites. The matter was quite angry about this verdict, perhaps more so than Otniu and Asishi themselves, but in any case his rebellious influence had an effect on the already offended Otniu, and the added weight of it being his father's advice prompted the eventual conception of Notniuk, son of Otniu. At first, Asishi kept the pregnancy a secret from both Othan and Boyan branches, but when pushed by Xamian, she caved, and essentially snitched on both of the matter and Otniu, claiming that it was not her idea, etc. For this reason, she was spared from the judgment that befell her husband and father-in-law. Otniu was captured and banished to the plain of Inglexorn, which was given to Vimatter to rule over, and he was also given the responsibility of torturing his son for eternity. Asishi changed her name from such to Troboja, and took Otniu's place as overseer of the Latora, then cast her son into limbo to die. But he did not. Instead, he festered in the Extracta, growing in strength as he consumed voidesses in the dark. Given enough time, he was forgotten by all but a few Ophosan floaters that live in the few grains of the Latora that have fallen from the rest since the Abenthrong. These Olfosans became the first followers of Notniuk, and with this support from the fervor of what few mortals prayed to him, began dominating and conquering the Extracta. Unlike his kin, he actually has a physical form in some respect. It is comprehensible, though intensely odd. The babe, no, the abomination, bubbled and roiled into the form of a man, standing on two legs, and another leg emerging from the sacrum, with a head set upon an elongated neck and a leech's maw for his mouth. The eyeless face smelled his new hands, still wet from production, with their fractal-like fingers ever reaching in all directions. Notniuk's motivations are vague at best, but he is hinted to be a belligerent force in the conglomerate wars, as Jundiri's lament says, for the Hadalic Microlatora, ever close to the father of its unholy chaos, separates us. When wars cease and strife ends, perhaps I may return to thy grey dunes again. I will tell my kinsmen of the waters from the sky, of the men from the leech's loins that assaulted the front lines, those weapons of war, large as the mountains. I would tell tales of the demigod, terrible in his power, felled by our and the general's hands, his corpse now the firmament of the vile Latora from whence he came. His father's wrath wrought against us was swift and apocalyptic. Many worlds were raised in his fury, for like his mother's trillion offspring, his spawn are prolifically procreative. The endless armies washed over several Latora, turning them into zones of dead void, empty and silent. In the Bastion of Sloth Creek, Notniuk creates a former proxy, or avatar in the Latora, and does a whole lot of nothing. More accurately, it would be that Earth was an unlikely place for his manifestation, and that his desired goal or object or goal was elsewhere in the Lidus. Jundiri's lament describes him as vengeful and desirous of more area or followers, but that's not entirely certain. His unborn twin, known as the Tar Mother by the Olfosans, is a result of the subsumption of Iphinu and Troboja's afterbirth, which killed most life and civilizations that existed beforehand. As for the spawn of Notniuk, there is one that rises above all the rest. Akiro Mindendawij, the demigod slain by the general, presumably Belial, as he was the primary defender of the Latora during the Conglomerate Wars. Akiro was the result of a union between Notniuk and a Clivigen, who may or may not have a connection to Horacliv due to similar spellings, but in any case, this gave Akiro a natural advantage over his brethren. Judging by the wrath described by Jundiri, Akiro held a special place in whatever Notniuk calls a heart, as the killing of his other children by Jundiri and the rest of his group did not specifically incite his rage. This is incredible for any sort of power scaling between Belial, a mortal, and the rest of the existence, because it implies that Belial in his prime could slay 7th or 6th generation deities, as Akiro invaded from the outside of the Microlatora, so he would need to be able to kill these sub-deities to conquer any area at all, as Not-Nuke did not get involved until Akiro's death, but that is an enormous tangent that I cannot get into right now, maybe another time. In short, Not-Nuke is a major threat to any of the gods, even if they are from Talmenos or Brantanos, as to be directly involved in the Latour's affairs, such as destroying part of them, he would need kill at least one median, which scales him above any other individual deity other than, a very select few. Now, this does not mean that he could survive a group of them. If there were more than 5, he would be curd stomped into nothing. But that hasn't happened yet, so I guess the medians just said, respect, and are just ignoring him or something. That's nearly all we know about Not-Nuke and his kin. I may have missed something in this video, but until the next one, Ugrai Ray.